Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going deep, really deep, into the life of Carmine Mirabelli.
Ah, Mirabelli. Now, there's a fascinating case.
He was a Brazilian physical medium, and let me tell you, some of the stories about this guy, they sound like they're straight out of a science fiction novel.
Definitely not your average medium, that's for sure.
We're talking levitation, materialization of objects, even, get this, full-bodied apparitions appearing out of thin air.
The whole works.
And the best part, our source material for this deep dive is incredible.
Oh, tell me more.
It's from Centro Espírita Camineiros da Fraternidade, which is a Spiritist center right there in Brazil.
Wow, so we're getting an insider perspective.
Absolutely. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of Mirabelli's talents, let's set the stage for our listeners.
Sounds good.
What exactly are we talking about when we say physical medium? What does that even mean?
Well, you see, a physical medium is like a bridge between our world, the physical world, and the spirit world.
Okay, so they're connecting with spirits, but it's not just about messages or, vague feelings.
Right. Physical mediumship, it's all about tangible, observable phenomena.
So things we can actually see and hear.
Exactly. We're talking objects moving on their own, lights appearing, and as in Mirabelli's case, even the materialization of spirits.
Whoa, okay. That's way beyond your typical seance with a Ouija board.
You could say that.
So let's talk about Mirabelli, the man himself. He was born in 1889 in Botucatu.
Which is in São Paulo, Brazil.
Right. His father was an Italian Protestant pastor, and interestingly enough, his mother passed away when he was just a young boy.
That's something you often see in these kinds of stories.
I was just thinking that. Makes you wonder if there's a connection between early loss and, an openness to the spirit world.
It's a question that comes up a lot. Grief can be a powerful experience.
Absolutely. It can make you question everything you thought you knew.
Exactly. Sometimes it leads people to seek solace or connection beyond the physical realm. We can't say for sure if that's what happened with Mirabelli, but
But it definitely adds another layer to his story.
for sure. And it's a good reminder that even people who seem to possess these incredible otherworldly abilities are still human.
Dealing with the same joys and sorrows as the rest of us.
Absolutely.
He even married 4 times.
That's
It's true. But let's move on to what really makes Mirabelli stand out.
his so-called gifts.
Exactly. His alleged abilities were, they were vast and varied.
Where do we even begin?
Let's start with the painting.
Yes, the painting. Now, this is where things get really interesting.
So Mirabelli claimed to channel famous artists while he painted.
Not just their style, mind you.
What do you mean?
I mean, he claimed he could paint with their speed and precision.
Okay, wait. So he's not just mimicking their style, he's somehow taking on their level of skill.
That's what he claimed.
Yeah.
We're talking about him producing works in the style of Michelangelo or Rembrandt.
Michelangelo, come on, that's insane.
And the speed at which he worked, it was just incredible.
So how much of this is documented? Do we have any actual evidence?
Well, he did have a whole gallery showcasing over 40 of these paintings.
Okay, so people saw these paintings with their own eyes.
They did.
But the big question is, how good were they? Did they actually resemble the work of these masters?
That's where things get a little tricky. We mostly have anecdotal accounts.
People saying, wow, that looks just like a Rembrandt.
Exactly. But without a detailed analysis of the artwork itself, it's tough to say for sure.
It's a shame we don't have more to go on.
I agree. It would be fascinating to see those paintings with our own eyes, wouldn't it?
It would. And this whole channeling thing, that's a whole other can of worms.
Oh, for sure.
When we say channeling in the context of Spiritism, what are we really talking about?
Well, think of it as a temporary merging of consciousness.
Merging, like 2 minds becoming one.
In a way, yes. The medium allows their body and mind to be used by a spirit.
Okay, I'm trying to picture this. It's like the spirit is borrowing the medium's body.
Exactly.
But they still have their own distinct personality, their own knowledge, their own skills.
Precisely. Think of it like a radio.
A radio.
Yeah, the medium is like a receiver tuning into a specific frequency.
And that frequency is the spirit?
You got it.
So are we saying that in Mirabelli's case, the spirit of, say, Rembrandt was actually inhabiting his body?
That's how Spiritists would interpret it.
Wow. Okay. My mind is officially blown.
It's a lot to take in, I know.
It is, and it raises so many questions.
Such as?
Well, if the spirit is guiding his hand, where does Mirabelli's own creativity come into play?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It makes you wonder about the nature of artistic inspiration itself. Is it all coming from within, or can it come from, somewhere else?
It's a mystery, that's for sure. But remember, Mirabelli's talents, or maybe we should say channeled abilities, extended far beyond just painting.
You're talking about the music. Didn't he play the piano? And I think I read somewhere that he even played the violin.
That's right. And here's the kicker. He had no formal training in either instrument.
None. So he just sat down at the piano one day and started playing like a virtuoso.
Well, he attributed his musical abilities to the influence of spirits, of course.
Of course. But still, to play at that level with no training whatsoever, that's just mind-boggling.
It is. But the story that really captures the imagination is his supposed channeling of Niccolo Paganini.
Ah, Paganini. Now, there was a true musical genius.
Legendary violinist known for his virtuosity.
And his rumored deal with the devil.
Exactly. Paganini was a showman, pushing the limits of what was possible on the violin.
And one of his most famous tricks, if you can even call it that, was his ability to play incredibly complex pieces on a single violin string.
A feat that very few violinists can replicate.
And get this, Mirabelli, while supposedly channeling Paganini, did the same thing.
Played on just one string.
One string. It's hard to even imagine the kind of skill and control that would take.
Let alone the question of whether a spirit was actually guiding his hand.
It's a moment that perfectly captures the enigma that is Carmine Mirabelli.
Even if you're skeptical, you have to admit, it's a pretty incredible story.
It is, and it makes you wonder what other talents or abilities might be lying dormant within us, just waiting to be unlocked.
And that's a thought-provoking idea, isn't it?
It is. But before we get too carried away, maybe we should take a step back and explore the Spiritist interpretation of these phenomena in a bit more detail.
Sounds like a plan. So we're talking about channeling, spirits lending their talents to those in the physical world. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is. Before we jump into more of Mirabelli's abilities, could we maybe delve a bit deeper into Spiritism itself?
Absolutely. To understand Mirabelli from a Spiritist perspective, we got to understand their worldview. They see death not as an end, but as a transition to the spirit world. And importantly, they believe these spirits can interact with us, share their knowledge, and even, as we're seeing with Mirabelli, temporarily merge with a medium to express their abilities.
So it's not just about spirits chatting with us from beyond the veil. It's about them potentially influencing our world in very real, tangible ways.
Precisely. And to understand this idea of channeling and these alleged feats of physical mediumship, we need to look at a key text in Spiritism, Allan Kardec's The Book of Mediums.
The Book of Mediums, what kind of things does it cover?
It's basically a guide to understanding different types of mediumship, including this physical mediumship we're discussing. Kardec categorizes the different ways spirits can communicate and manifest, offering explanations for phenomena like levitation, apparitions, and even the movement of objects without any apparent physical cause.
So, for Spiritists, Mirabelli isn't some kind of anomaly. He's an example of principles laid out in their core beliefs.
Exactly. They'd argue that his case supports their view of an interconnected spirit world, where knowledge and talents transcend physical limitations. They might even say that we all possess some degree of mediumistic ability.
Just that Mirabelli's was exceptionally developed?
Precise.
Okay, I have to admit, the idea that we might all have this potential within us is pretty intriguing. But then there's that other side of me, the skeptical side, that says, hold on a minute, is any of this actually real?
Of course, healthy skepticism is crucial when dealing with extraordinary claims like these. And throughout history, there have been cases of fraud and trickery associated with physical mediumship. Illusions, sleight of hand, elaborate setups designed to fool people seeking connection with the beyond.
So how do we know what to believe? How do we separate the genuine cases from the hoaxes?
That's the challenge, isn't it? Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And in many cases, we simply don't have enough reliable information to draw definitive conclusions.
So we're left with this tension between belief and skepticism, wonder and doubt.
Exactly. And I think that tension is part of what makes these stories so compelling. We're drawn to the mystery, the possibility that there might be more to reality than we currently understand.
It reminds me of that saying, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Just because we can't explain something doesn't mean it's not real.
Well said. But let's get back to Mirabelli. We were about to discuss his linguistic abilities before we went down this fascinating rabbit hole of Spiritism and skepticism.
Oh, right. I'd almost forgotten. He was said to speak and write in 28 languages.
Can you imagine?
Despite having no formal education in most, if any, of them. That's beyond impressive. That's practically superhuman.
It's certainly a mind-boggling claim.
It is.
And for Spiritists, this is where the concept of reincarnation comes into play. Remember, they believe we live multiple lives, accumulating knowledge and experiences along the way.
So they might say that Mirabelli was accessing linguistic knowledge from past lives, perhaps even tapping into the consciousness of those who spoke these languages fluently.
Exactly. They would see it as a manifestation of the interconnectedness of all beings, both living and deceased. They'd argue that Mirabelli's case demonstrates that the boundaries of individual consciousness are far more fluid than we typically imagine.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if we're all carrying around echoes of past lives, hidden talents and abilities, just waiting to be unlocked?
It's a tantalizing thought, isn't it? And it raises all sorts of questions about the nature of identity, learning, and the very fabric of reality.
But if we entertain this possibility, it seems like it would make formal learning and personal growth meaningless. Why bother studying languages or developing skills if we could just tap into some cosmic library of knowledge?
That's a valid point. But Spiritists would likely argue that even if we have access to past life knowledge, it's up to us to cultivate and integrate those abilities in our current life. It's about consciously developing our potential, not just passively receiving it.
So it's like having a vast library at your disposal, but you still need to know how to read the books, how to make sense of the information and apply it to your own life.
That's a great analogy, and it reminds us that even in a worldview that embraces the possibility of spirit communication and reincarnation, individual effort and conscious growth remain paramount.
This is all so fascinating, but I'm realizing we've mainly focused on his talents and spiritism and haven't even touched on Mirabelli, the man, the human being.
You're right. Beyond the extraordinary claims of the potential explanations, there's a real person at the center of this story. A man who lived, loved, experienced loss, and ultimately met a rather tragic end.
Wait, what happened? How did he die?
Sadly, Mirabelli died at the relatively young age of 62 in a traffic accident.
A traffic accident.
Yeah.
That seems almost ironic, considering all the extraordinary things he was said to be capable of.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even those who seem to defy the laws of nature are still subject to the fragility of human existence.
It's a sobering thought. It brings us back down to earth, so to speak. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Mirabelli's incredible talents, the Spiritist interpretation of his abilities, the healthy skepticism surrounding these claims, and even his all-too-human demise. Where do we go from here?
I think the next step is to acknowledge that there are no easy answers when it comes to these kinds of stories. We're dealing with the fringes of human understanding, the realm where science and spirituality intersect, and where belief and doubt coexist.
So where does that leave us? What are we supposed to make of all this? It's one thing to hear these stories, but it's another thing entirely to try and understand them, to figure out what they mean, if they even mean anything at all.
You're right, it's a lot to process. But I think the most valuable takeaway is the importance of staying curious. Whether you're inclined to believe in the possibility of Mirabelli's channeled abilities, or you remain skeptical, his story invites us to question our assumptions about what's possible.
I have to say, even as someone who approaches these things with a healthy dose of skepticism, I can't help but be fascinated by the idea that we might be more than just our physical bodies, that there might be these hidden dimensions of consciousness waiting to be explored.
That's the beauty of it. It opens up a whole new realm of possibilities. Maybe there's more to reality than meets the eye. Maybe consciousness extends beyond the physical brain. Maybe we do have access to knowledge and talents from past lives.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if we could tap into that vast reservoir of human experience? What could we achieve? What mysteries could we unlock?
Those are questions worth pondering. And while we may never have definitive answers, the exploration itself can be incredibly enriching. It can lead us to new insights, new perspectives, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe we inhabit.
So for our listeners who are now feeling inspired to explore these ideas further, where would you suggest they begin?
Well, if they're intrigued by Spiritism, I'd recommend starting with Allan Kardec's The Book of Mediums, which we mentioned earlier. It provides a comprehensive overview of Spiritist beliefs and practices, including their understanding of mediumship.
And for those who are more on the skeptical side, are there any resources you'd recommend?
Absolutely. There are many organizations and websites dedicated to critical thinking and scientific skepticism. They often offer resources on paranormal claims, including investigations into physical mediumship. It's always good to approach these topics from multiple angles.
That's great advice. So we've explored the extraordinary life of Carmine Mirabelli, delved into the world of Spiritism, and acknowledged the importance of critical thinking. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with one final thought-provoking question for our listeners.
All ears.
If abilities like Mirabelli's are real, if we truly can access knowledge and skills from other realms, What does that tell us about the nature of consciousness? Is it individual and contained, or are we all part of a vast, interconnected web of minds and spirits?
That's a powerful question to leave our listeners with, and I think it speaks to the heart of what we've been exploring today. The mystery of consciousness, the potential of human connection, and the possibility that reality might be far stranger and more wondrous than we ever imagined.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the unknown. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the life and legacy of Carmine Mirabelli. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep your mind open to the infinite possibilities of the universe.